because we had another neuropsych eval for somebody else, and at the end of it they called me into the office and said, yeah, we need to do an ADOS. Okay, so I've taken a few days off and I'm not as caught up as I'd like to be, but it has been good to rest a little bit. I've been drawing a lot, I've been writing a ton, I've started a new novel on Wattpad, I'm about 10 chapters in. I had been working on that a lot, but it just felt good to be writing, and I had been writing a lot more, which is always a good thing for me because that is just one of my passions. But I wanted to give you kind of a health update of what was going on with me. One of the big things that's been going on that's just been making it hard to do anything is that my migraines came back full force. Okay, so I'm gonna kind of give some background on the migraine thing. I have had headaches since I was like 8 years old, and then they turned from just headaches into migraines when I became a teenager, basically like hit puberty. So I'm 37 now, say my migraines probably started when I was like 14, 23 years of migraines. And I would have migraines a few times a week, say 3 to 4 times a week. Some were not terrible, but as I got older, it seemed like they got worse. They went from just a headache that was half my head that was really, really intense to it would be rare for a migraine to be bad enough that it would make me throw up. Sometimes they would be migraines with an aura, but as I got older, once I got into my 20s, it would be not uncommon for the right side of my face to go numb. Sometimes I would start to slur, vertigo, tinnitus. Sometimes it was just hard. It was hard to tell what was a migraine and what wasn't a migraine, and I've been to a lot of different doctors, going back and forth between the ENT and the neurologist. It seemed like it was hard to tell what was migraine and what wasn't sometimes. A couple of years ago, I realized when we were having a hard time financially, Paul and I were donating plasma, and I realized after donating plasma for a couple of months that all of a sudden my migraines were gone. Like totally and completely gone. I hadn't had a migraine in a month, which for me was a really big deal. As long as I kept donating plasma, they stayed away. And when I missed days, it came back like worse than ever, like frighteningly the worst migraines I had ever had. They were completely incapacitating, and I went to my neurologist and I talked to them about it, and they basically said, and I wanted to know why. I was like, this has to be a clue to why I have migraines. And they basically said, well, that's a good thing. You found something that works for you. And at that time I'd been taking a topiramate, Topamax, which is a seizure medication basically, but it's also used for migraines. The quick relief migraine medicines had become less and less effective as I got older. When I was young, they worked really well, but as I got older, they didn't. And so they actually reduced my dose of the Topamax because I wasn't having migraines anymore, and said, people need plasma, this seems to work for you, so just go with it. And I wasn't super happy with that answer. I mean, I was happy that it worked, but I wanted to know why. But there wasn't much I could do, so I went with it, and I donated plasma twice a week for the last year. It's kind of time consuming. It usually takes a couple hours to do from the time you get there to the time you leave. There's a long line. Sometimes there's 30 people in front of me in line, and it can take a large part of my day on the days that I go. But I didn't want to have entire days eaten up by migraines. And then after a year of giving plasma twice a week, they'd have a really hard time finding my vein. And so I developed a lot of scar tissue, and I finally was given basically a 55-day, sent away for 55 days and told that I couldn't come back because they were having such a hard time finding my veins, and told that if they had a hard time when I came back, I would be told that I could never donate again. And during those 55 days, my migraines were every single day worse than they had ever been. I called my neurology office, I left a message on the nurse line, I talked with the receptionist, and I didn't hear anything because they hadn't given the message to my neurologist. They didn't give the message to my neurologist for over 3 weeks, and finally I made an appointment with my doctor, my regular doctor. He decided while we were waiting to run a bunch of tests, and I needed to see him anyways for my antidepressants because it was time to renew them and re-up the prescriptions for another year. And I was supposed to see him earlier anyways, but it's hard to get in for appointments for myself anyways because I'm always taking other people to the appointments that they need to get to first. While I was there, he ordered a whole bunch of different blood tests to see what else might be going on. All of them came back normal except for the thyroid blood test, and my thyroid numbers had gone from like, my THS had gone from 3s down to 2s and stayed at 2s for a while, and now they were up over 4. And so he looked at everything, and I am starting to try a thyroid medication as of today. and hoping that that might help some things that are going on. At the same time, I finally got a call from my neurologist when I couldn't donate. A lot of other stuff started happening. And I talked about this once before in one other video. I think I said it felt like there was water running down my legs, and suddenly my right leg was numb all the time, and my right arm started going numb, and my face basically felt numb all on the right side all of the time. And I've started having some pain on this side of my face and down my right leg, but not where it used to be, because I have a ruptured disc in my back. But so it was a pain in different places than where the pain would be from that disc. And it was just not a great fun time. I don't want to complain, but it was just not a super fun time, and I need to be able to keep up with my kids. I was more tired than I should be. I get a pretty okay amount of sleep now that most of my kids sleep through the night. I shouldn't be super exhausted during the day. I feel like all my vitamin levels came back totally normal. So my neurologist called back, and she had just gotten the message, and she ordered an MRI. And during this time my other doctor went back, and when I was in his office, and he looked at the MRI, and he said, well, I had gotten the MRI report that just said normal. And so he had more of the radiologist notes, and at that time he said, I was like, oh no, I know, it's normal. The MRI report said normal. And then he read the radiologist report to me, and he goes, yeah, this says that, he said, yeah, this says it looks good. It says, and then he was quiet, and then he goes, that there are bright spots and possible white matter changes and lesions associated with migraine. And I was like, oh, my copy didn't say that. And so then I didn't know brain lesions were from migraines. I didn't know that happened, that they like damaged your brain. I guess it's not supposed to actually be like clinically significant, which is what everybody always says about everything. My neurologist did order another MRI when I got the call from my doctor's office with my thyroid test to tell me that they were abnormal and that they would see me at my appointment in a couple days, but they just wanted to let me know that. And that doctor's office has given me my results for so many different offices. Sorry, the kids are here and it's never quiet, so that's the background noise you're inevitably going to hear. But that doctor's office has given me the results for so many different offices. So I told her that I'd had an MRI last week, and I was wondering if it was in the computer system yet, because it's all the same university and they're in the same building. And so I figured there was a good chance that she could see it. And she goes, oh, you did? Here, let me see what it says. Let me see if it's here yet. And then she was quiet for like 30 seconds. And then she says, oh, yeah, here it is. I can see it. You know what? Neurology hasn't released it yet. We aren't allowed to give these out. So you're gonna have to wait till neurology has a talk with you about it. And I'm like, because they've given me so many results for so many different offices, like the next day. Usually my doctor will send the report electronically to me right when they come out. So all week I knew that it couldn't be anything really bad, because I figured if it was anything really bad, I would get a call from neurology telling me, like, you know, if it's something really bad, they're going to call you in right away. But I also had a feeling it wasn't like nothing, because then I figured if it was nothing at all, she would have said, oh, it says it's totally normal, you're fine. And her voice had just sounded kind of not, you know, like totally normal. I saw my doctor the next week, and he said he had good news. It basically said there was nothing to worry about. It said that there were, and I believe what he said, and I can't wait for my neurology appointment, which is still a month away, there were further changes to the white matter and lesions, but that they could all be explained by migraines. And I was like, that's good news. I said, who knew that migraines could cause changes to white matter and lesions? And he was like, yeah. I was just like, I love my doctor. My doctor is amazing and will sit and talk with me. And that day we had Tessie with us, so I couldn't ask nearly as many questions because she was trying to systematically deconstruct the office, and she was doing a pretty good job. So every few seconds I was having to stop her from doing something. So we were both a little bit distracted. Of course, I Googled what are brain lesions, and Google basically says brain damage, which I guess isn't always actually something that means anything at all. It could mean nothing at all. So I guess this could mean nothing at all. My thought is not to worry if we don't have anything we know we should be worrying about, but it does make you feel a little bit weird when you have headaches all of the time and then there's lesions on your brain. It kind of makes me feel like, well, that's why my brain hurts so much. I don't know. I probably shouldn't feel that way because I don't know. It's not proven that it's actually that causes it. Especially since donating plasma for whatever reason makes it go away, and I really wish I had an answer to that. However, they did double my Topamax, and I have been down to like 1 a week since that happened. And I know Topamax makes other people feel really, really sluggish, but it actually generally makes me feel the opposite. And so I don't mind being on Topamax at all. It also makes me feel a little bit more short-tempered, generally, especially when people are rude. So sorry about people in the comment section. I had a whole slew of people making vaccine comments about the kids last week, and it was right after they doubled my Topamax, and well, they probably bore the full brunt of that. I don't feel that bad about that though. Anyways, the other thing was my doctor gave me a referral for an evaluation, and the place got me in really, really quick. I asked my doctor a question that if you follow along, you probably know what it is. A lot of doctors have asked me this question, and I asked my doctor what he thought the probability of this question was, and he said exceptionally high. And then he gave me the neuropsych referral, and I already had it, and I find out on February 5th. Exceptionally high. And then when I saw him again and told him I'd had the evaluation, he said again that he thought that yes, that it would come back and confirm what he thought. So I guess we'll see. February 5th, we will see. And some of you probably know what I'm talking about. A lot of you probably figured it out. For a while, we weren't sure if the insurance was going to cover the evaluation, and then I realized how invested I had become in having the evaluation because I was really disappointed. And yeah, and oh my goodness. So there's this one ADHD test they had me do where there's like an X and you're not supposed to press the button when the X comes up, but when all the other letters come up, you do. And apparently I have no impulse control because I think I hit the button for every single X. If you've ever taken that test, you know what I'm talking about. I think it's called the Connors something, but I'm pretty sure that I failed that spectacularly for impulse control because I would be sitting there thinking, don't touch the button, don't touch the button, don't touch the button, and then the X would come up and I'd touch the button and be like, what is wrong with you? Anyways, I don't think I have ADHD. We'll see, I guess. So it ought to be an interesting month ahead of us. We had literally doctor's appointments for, I only had one, well no, I had 2 last week, but literally everybody has had so many doctor's appointments and they're just jam-packed through this week. I think there are 3 kids with pulmonology appointments this month, 2 well child checks this week. There was, an ADOS tomorrow, another ADOS next week for somebody else. It's insane. Because we had another neuropsych eval for somebody else, and at the end of it they called me into the office and said, yeah, we need to do an ADOS. So it's been stressful around here, and that's why I took a few days off, because my brain is full of things to think about. Anyways, so that is the latest with me. Things are good, but it's just I've had so much to think about, and I've just been writing and writing and writing. And that is over on Wattpad. Not writing about anything relevant to this, I write fantasy, so yeah. Anyways, that is it for today. If you like this video, we would love it if you'd give it a thumbs up. And if you're interested in all things autism, we'd love it if you'd hit subscribe, and I'll see you tomorrow. Bye.